Ever since Punk Hazard, there's been a line Nico Robin once said that has kept me on edge ever since Luffy formed an alliance with Law. Betrayal is a part of pirate alliances. Now, while our current alliance is yet to present any evidence of it ever happening, that's not to say it hasn't happened before in the past. In fact, it feels like just recently, Oda may be hinting towards something revolving around that line, with a character who may come to some as a surprise. That person being the King of Beasts, Kaido. Let's discuss the possibility that Kaido's words of betrayal to cast despair on the Akazaya Nine hold a deeper meaning than what was presented at face value. A tale of trust and betrayal, the truth behind Kaido and the Rocks Pirates. Let's go. The war at Onigashima has begun, with the Akazaya Nine following through with their assaults on Kaido. Upon sending the Yonko to the ground, Kaido arose, in almost Whitebeard fashion, to state the prophecy he thought the supposedly deceased Orochi spouted as nonsense turned out to be true. Oden's retainers had lived after being sent into the future by 20 years. Kaido commended the samurai for holding on during that time to amass an army to stage one final attack against them. Despite all of that, the words which spawned this video were uttered, "But pirates will betray you. When they know you'll lose, they will abandon you and sail away." Now, at first glance, I thought this is just him simply messing with the Akazaya Nine in an effort to demoralize them into believing such a reality could happen. As I reread the chapter in the Viz, I thought to myself, could he in fact be speaking from prior experiences? And if that were to be the case, are there legitimate asterisks towards the losses he has suffered as a pirate? While Kaido's past is still a mystery to us readers prior to him joining the Rocks Pirates, it is possible that such betrayal might have stemmed from having gone through with his former crew and in the partnerships to come prior to aligning with Orochi. Let's state the obvious of what we know from Kaido's pirate tenure. Around 40 years ago, he was a member of the Rocks Pirates. At some point during his time with them, he owed his former crewmate Big Mom a debt that she reminded him about during their conversation in the Reverie arc. 2 years later, the Rocks Pirates were defeated at God Valley by the unlikely duo of Gold D. Roger and Monkey D. Garp. For the next few decades, Kaido went on to form his own crew and rose to the top of the pirate world, later on obtaining the title of one of the 4 emperors. During that time, he has been defeated 7 times and captured 18 times by the Marines and the Emperors alike. Despite having faced defeat and being imprisoned in those occasions, Kaido was able to come out of them alive. Now, what exactly could have led Kaido to be defeated 7 times and to be captured a staggering 18 times? The answer could be very well his own words used against him and what he had stated to the Akazaya Nine. And as Kaido was at times betrayed by other pirates, which may have led to him tasting defeat as well as being captured by his enemies. Now, I know what you're thinking. The man who is deemed unkillable, indestructible, a god, was hit with a low blow, or his partner walked back to the locker room leaving him to be fed to the wolves? It sounds crazy, but not totally. The Rocks Pirates were considered to be the most dangerous and strongest pirate crew of their time. It was their era as the rulers of the sea long before Gold D. Roger became the king of the pirates. They were very violent and wouldn't hesitate with killing their friends and foes alike, and their lack of camaraderie caused crew members to kill one another constantly even while roaming the seas. Seeing this at first hand, it's possible that while Kaido kept the violent nature he would gain as a member of the Rocks Pirates, he may have doubted the ideology of the crew he was once a part of. You have to consider that he lived in an environment that kept him on his toes at all times, knowing at any moment someone who he once shared drinks with could come to take his life. Typically speaking, the captain is seen as a reflection of their crew. If their leader is viewed with a heart as pure as gold, in this case like what we have with Luffy, the same can be said for the rest of the Straw Hats, where in the case of Zebek and his crew aside from maybe Whitebeard, he was the complete opposite. And monsters in the making in the form of Kaido, Big Mom, and Shiki will go on to show possible traits in their own personas that were inherited from their former captain. At times throughout the New World Saga, we've seen similarities from what we know of the Rocks Pirates within the Beast Pirates. Kaido's commanders, or the 3 All-Stars, Jack, Queen, and King, are all stated to be torture-loving freaks that feed off of the suffering of others for their own satisfaction. This indicates that they must have gotten that mentality from being with Kaido for a number of years, which he himself could have gotten from the other members of the Rocks Pirates during his tenure with them. Kaido was even willing to put up one of the all-star positions up for grabs for any of his headliners to claim by taking out the ones associated with the title, which again is another trait that could have been taken from the Rocks Pirates embedded into the mindset of the Beast Pirates. They all must understand that nothing will last forever. For Kaido to have the strongest crew in the world, everyone is subjected to be replaced if better suitors are presented to him. Going back to the trust and betrayal concept, what could have led Kaido to have this way of thinking about alliances despite being in one currently with Big Mom? It's possible that after the Rocks Pirates disbanded, Kaido tried to change things under his own direction and seek powerful allies just like his former captain. However, Kaido lacked the one thing that his captain had that made him feared around the world.
Ruthless aggression.
Ruthless aggression. Xebec was a vicious and ambitious man, showing no regard to those he attacked as long as he could obtain power for himself and lead his crew to destroy anyone that stood in the way of his dreams. His goal was to become the king of the world, and he had no problem dabbling into the underground to find taboos forbidden from seeing the day of light. You have to believe, looking from the outside perspective, that nobody could dare challenge such a man within his crew, otherwise they would meet the same fate Xebec has placed others that stood in his way. By instilling fear into the hearts of those that opposed him, it created a narrative that Xebec was someone that meant business, and you have a choice: roam the seas as a child of Xebec, or die where you stand. It's likely that the ones who became emperors that were part of his crew viewed Xebec not only as their leader, but as a father figure. This could also be where Whitebeard got the idea of starting his own family, only to have his own spin later on, as he genuinely wanted to have a family that he never had, whereas someone like Xebec saw them as soldiers who he had respect for as they stood by his side during their time together. Switching back to Kaido, I briefly brought up the debt that he owes Big Mom, which could be related to Kaido's defeats in the past, with one of them needing Big Mom to aid him for reasons still unknown to us. The popular idea that's been flying around the community for years is that long ago, Kaido and Big Mom were a couple. One thing led to another, and Kaido is now indebted to Big Mom. While Kaido has brushed off the debt as baseless drivel, they were able to find common ground to form an alliance. For them to reconcile now as allies, there must be some deeper meaning aside from simply conquering the seas for this to happen. So while official confirmation from Kaido's past along with the alliance with Big Mom is still needed to back up some of these claims, there is enough evidence to support the idea. While he has inherited what Xebec instilled in him, Kaido understands that he must still keep watch of any snakes in the grass. To his own benefit, he was able to be the snake charmer for Orochi rather than being the one bitten by him later on. Let's look at what Kaido recently did to Orochi. Despite still having my doubts over the Shogun's demise, as it would crush some moments I was expecting to see from characters in prominent roles in Wano later on, another hint might have been left within the moment when Kaido, without hesitation, swung his sword to decapitate Orochi. Reading this for the first time, I thought, Orochi just talked back to Kaido and he put him in his place when he was done using him. Upon going back to revisiting it, it seems like Kaido might have done this to prevent being betrayed again like he was done to in the past by prior associates. This would indicate that Kaido is insecure and has trust issues with others outright, and when the time came to cut ties, he did exactly that. To avoid the feeling of being betrayed by those he trusted, Kaido made the decision to remove Orochi without allowing the snake to be given a chance to bite his own partner. Thus, when looking at the moment of Kaido saying to the Akazaya Nine that they will face such a fate that it's the nature of pirates to betray one another at some point, it could be his own way of saying, I've been there before. I know what it's like having hopes and dreams only for it to be taken away from you in the blink of an eye. This could also tie in with his desire to have a glorious death on the battlefield. We've known ever since his debut that Kaido desires to be killed in a blaze of glory. He can be defeated in battle, but killing him has been seen as an impossible task. His reason for wishing to die could tie in with being through with trusting others and wanting to rid himself of his suffering from the life he had lived from birth to now. Instead of doing so by his own accord, he wants someone to be the one to put him down. Now, while this could be a dark way of looking at it, there might be some inspiration for Kaido wanting to die in this manner, as it could have been how he saw his captain go out in the same fashion during the God Valley incident. Think about this for a second. Factor in Kaido's talk of betrayal to the Akazaya Nine, add in the nature of which the Rock's pirates were built upon, along with what came of the subsequent defeats and captures Kaido dealt with over the years, and in that time, he finally had enough. This means that Kaido may have witnessed his crewmates abandon Xebec when his life was about to be taken, swearing to never go out the same way that their captain did, by being betrayed and running from the fight when losing became certain. To witness his captain die at the hands of the future Pirate King and one of the Marine's top members must have been a huge shock to Kaido. But what made it worse was knowing that the people he grew up with and once considered as comrades fled to save themselves while leaving behind the one that looked after them for the years that they spent together. All these things could factor into Kaido's reasonings behind his disdain towards trusting others, as it's been something he's dealt with for the vast majority of his life. He's through with trusting others, and instead he'll use them, wishing to cause enough carnage and misery upon the world so that they see what it's like being helpless in the face of adversity. Even other elements like his drinking addiction and how he has abused his daughter Yamato for years might have stemmed from the incidents that occurred in the past that tie into his trust issues. He's a product of the environment he grew up in, and most of the time if you can't improve yourself in hopes of walking a different path, you are doomed to walk that same trail for the remainder of your life. If there was ever a time where we could finally dive into Kaido's past, it has to happen before Wano's conclusion. The truth behind what made him who he is today will surely open up new aspects around his character, and if it's anything to do with the words he spoke of to Oden's retainers regarding betrayal, it will surely open up his story to the readers in a broader light. And there we have it, a tale of trust and betrayal. But those are my thoughts on Kaido, his past with the Rocks Pirates from my point of view, and the whole trust and betrayal concept that I could see having a part to play in his character if we were ever to go into his past at some point during Wano. Let me know what you guys think down in the comments below in regards to this topic. If you have any other ideas or your own thoughts that you'd like to leave down in the comments that might differ from my own, feel free to do so. Like the video if you enjoyed, subscribe to the channel if you guys are new here if you want to be part of the weekly experience when it comes to my coverage of One Piece week in and week out. Subscribe if you haven't already, click on the bell Shandora to stay up to date with everything that goes on the channel. And with that being said, I will catch you guys in the next video. Commodore Last signing off, thank you so much for watching, and as always, take care.
Going crazy, yeah, we going